I think I've always had like an addictive personality.
Relatable
which is
also.
Which is not a good thing, right? For if it goes one
all
way.
in or all out.
All in or all out,
It's
baby.
like,
Welcome to Coach 'em Up Podcast. I'm joined, as always, with Zach Zillner, and we have a super special guest today, Josh Bridges. Josh,
man,
welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, of course. So, we know who you are. I would assume most people listening know who you are. For the people who don't, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here with us today?
Yeah, I'm now the third best athlete in my home, and former Navy SEAL, 6-time CrossFit Games athlete. Just love fitness, and now I'm trying to help get my boys as athletic as possible. And I had the privilege of getting to work with Tim here. It was awesome.
The Tim Riley treatment, man, is next level.
I know, man. The funny story is how I met Tim was I just found him on Instagram.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot.
And so then I was like, hey, I'm trying to get your program, and and I couldn't get it to pull up on the thing. And we're like doing this back and forth, and I'm like, this guy thinks I'm a fucking
He's like,
idiot.
click the link, dude.
He's like, hey, dumbass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen. What's funny is like, I have to, I have programming I sell as well online. And so I've dealt with this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy thinks I'm an idiot. And we got to work out, but that's literally how the relationship started.
So he reached out to me because he was having technical difficulties, and he's right. I was like, this guy's doing the same thing that every fucking else does.
Not on
I was
my
like,
day-to-day.
He entered in his email wrong. He thinks he didn't, whatever. Yeah. And then but I try to have supreme customer service.
You did, man. You
and
did.
I could tell that we were at an impasse. Neither of us were figuring this out. I still don't know who he is.
Yeah.
By the way. Okay. And so finally, I'm like, give me your number, dude.
Yeah.
Because I took it personally. I was like, I'm gonna fucking figure this technical difficulty out. And the more we started talking, he was like, yeah, I coach, and I kind of know what I'm doing. And I was like, I'm gonna Instagram this person. And right around that time, it came up in conversation that he knows a thing or two.
I used to do CrossFit.
Yeah, right.
I've exercised.
And I was like, and then I had this moment where I was like, I'm really grateful that I showed up the best version of myself in this situation. Otherwise,
Just snap on him and be like, dude, I'll refund your money. It's not
Dude, I was feeling so bad for him because I've had the experiences with it, and I have customer service that reps with it, but I also answer my DMs, and so I get a lot of the questions, and I'm like, gosh, this guy thinks I'm just a moron. And I'm like, man, I know I'm doing this right, but it's not coming up, and I can't figure it out. And I'm like, but Tim was awesome, and it said a lot about your character, and I appreciated it.
Well, thank you. And for anyone wondering, we did get it figured out.
We did, yeah.
And Josh got cheat code, and it was all good and well.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, you're now the third best athlete in your house.
Yes. Hard day to come, but come
tough pill to swallow. But for most of your life, you were probably the best athlete in the house. So can you tell us a little bit about your athletic background? Go all the way back to your formative years.
Yeah.
Where did it all start?
I mean, I had an older brother. We were basically Irish twins. We were 14 months apart or something like that. And to be honest, I wasn't the best athlete. He was better than me. He was big. He was a year older, a lot bigger than me. I was the runt of the family. He went on to win, he won high school state wrestling. I only took 5th, but we went to the same college and wrestled for a year. But we grew up, all we did was sports. Whatever sport was playing in season, and because we lived in Missouri, St. Louis, right? So we had all the weather. We couldn't always be outside, like in Texas, Florida, California.
Mm-hmm.
But we did everything. We played golf, tennis. When during July 4th, when Wimbledon was on, we're out in the driveway with the cracks on the driveway.
Dang, dude.
Played, obviously, baseball was a sport we kind of both gravitated towards until high school, and then we both flipped to wrestling, and Yeah, and I played rugby right after high school in a men's league, and I fell in love with rugby. Rugby was a cool
I played
sport.
rugby in college.
Yeah, rugby was awesome, man.
It's the best.
What position?
You'd love rugby. I was like a flanker and a wing.
Yeah, I was a winger. Yeah, it was
guys.
such a fun sport.
Yeah, it is.
I wish it would take off in the U.S.
I feel like the U.S. would love it. It's like constant action.
Yeah.
And people getting their heads knocked off.
Right.
But I don't know. We get it football. We get
yeah, right.
But it's tough to watch the NFL. If the NFL guys, if we just didn't have NFL and those guys played rugby, that would
Beasts.
be, oh my God.
I would watch that.
Yeah,
product.
I definitely
Absolutely.
probably wouldn't play at that point.
Oh,
Get murdered.
Ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, so maybe I'm glad it's the way it is.
we had like a D1 middle linebacker who played outside center next to me, and I was like, thank God he's on my team, because when he would hit people on the other team, I'd be like, I wouldn't live. Like I would have crumbled.
Just bone crushing.
You would always get those guys. He's like, oh, he's on the football team, and then he quit. Now he wants to play rugby. And you're like, oh no, this guy's gonna break me.
He's gonna kill someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yes. So yeah, we grew up playing every sport. College wrestling, NAI school, Lindenwood University.
Yeah,
and,
I know Lindenwood.
yeah,
They got everything there.
Yeah,
There's so many sports in Lindenwood.
Yeah, great athletic. Like, basically, you went there
For sports.
For sports,
Yeah.
that was it. And so I had a full ride. Decided after a year, college wasn't for me. Dropped out. Went into the mortgage world, which was awful. Yeah, I was a loan officer for 3 years. And then I met a guy. Yeah, hated my life. Every day, open the drawer, like, is the gun the right choice for me today? I don't know. Let's put it back.
I'll make a couple more calls.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me
If
figure
I don't
this out.
close this next guy, it's happening.
Right. Met a dude in the military, and he was like, hey man, I'm gonna go try to be a Navy SEAL, and this CrossFit stuff is somehow they train to prepare these guys. And I was like, okay, this is cool, let me give it a shot. And got hooked, gave myself a year to train, and joined the Navy.
Whoa.
So how do you go? I feel like every guy I know that's been a Navy SEAL, they were like, ever since they were young, they wanted to be a Navy SEAL. And you were just like sitting at the mortgage desk one day and you're like, you know what? This can't be worse than what I'm doing right now.
Dude, I literally had no idea what a Navy SEAL was until he told me. And so this is in like 04.
God,
Yeah.
you're the reason recruiters have jobs.
Right, yeah. It
Literally,
was
dude.
Wild. I know. And exactly. His dream, he's like, I've been dreaming of being a Navy SEAL since I was 6 years old. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But I'm like, I don't know how you knew about him, because I don't know. Everything was sports.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be a professional athlete. I wanted to be a baseball player, as a kid. I wasn't really interested in the, the military, armed service, anything like that. None of my family was. They're all like union laborers. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I was like, let's play sports.
Yeah.
And so when I found that CrossFit, I was like, he's like, yeah, this CrossFit stuff. And I started looking at it, I'm like, oh, this seems cool. And I was literally not working out. Like I stopped working out for about a year and a half, 2 years, got like fat. I was drinking Bud Light, eating fucking frozen pizza rolls every night.
A man after my own heart. Relatable. Dropping out of school, drinking beers, baby.
Yeah. Working telemarketing by day and eating pizza rolls and Bud Light at night. Like, it was just living the life.
The American dream, baby. Yes.
And so I was like, man, I got to figure some shit out. And
Did you know your wife at that time?
no. Well, my first wife.
Okay.
And so, yeah. Yes, I was. I was together with my original wife, and then, so I
It all started.
She was
Right
she was like watching me, like, oh my God, what happened to you?
This is not the man I met.
Not good. I don't know what's happening, but I don't like what I'm seeing. So after he told me, like, hey, I'm gonna go be a Navy SEAL, I started like looking into that. I started looking into CrossFit. Immediately I was like, okay, I'll give the CrossFit stuff a shot. I'm looking pretty bad right now, not looking good. I'm only 5'5", so like weight doesn't go any places.
Don't need the extra.
Right, yeah. So I started doing CrossFit. I just like immediately fell in love with it. I'm like, this is so cool, because it kind of brought me to wrestling, where like CrossFit has that competitive side to it. This is pre-games. Like, there was no sport of CrossFit in 2005.
Wow.
So I started doing it, loved it immediately. I was like, oh, let's check out what a Navy SEAL is. Like, let's read I read a couple books. There's Dick Couch books. There was the the Hell Week National Geographic documentary 236, and so watched that, and I was like, the hardest thing in the military. Okay, cool, let's go do it. Let's go give it a shot. Gave myself a year and a half to train for it.
Whoa.
Used CrossFit the entire time, running, swimming, and CrossFit, and like just it was awesome. It was a blast.
Jesus, can we? So what I'm hearing when I say that, the thing that's most impressive to me is the total 180 that I'm hearing. That's like, have you always had that ability when you lock in on something where you can put the blinders on and go in, or was that like the beginning of that?
No, I think I've always had like an addictive personality.
Relatable,
which is not a good thing, right? For if it goes one
all
way.
in or all out.
All in or all out,
right?
baby.
It's like,
I don't like the color gray. I need black or white.
It's so I think I have always had that. It's like, I'm all in, like you said, or all out. Like I'm going pro at whatever the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
And and so it's kind of always been how I've been. I did kind of fall off the wagon, I guess, a little bit after college, and I was just like, fuck it, man. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I've been doing it my entire life. I'm going to go down the business path. Like, that's what I want to be. I want to be in business because that's what everyone tells
that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Make
like,
money.
Make money, right. And I'm like, first of all, I'm making fucking any money.
Yeah. Where's the money?
Somebody lied to me.
Money.
I remember just like sitting in a cubicle and being like, is this the rest of my life? Am I here for, I was 20 at the time or 22?
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I here for fucking 50 more years? Like, is this where I want to be? Yeah. Hey, welcome to AT. Do you want phone or call waiting? And right. It's like that was where I was at. And so, it was, and once I started doing CrossFit, man, it was like crack.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever done crack, but it was like, it was very
what I would imagine what that might be like. Yes.
But I was like, man, this is awesome. It's like a competitive way to work out.
Yep.
And having an older brother, you just like, everything was competitive.
Yes.
It was like, I want to be the best at everything. Doesn't matter what it is. And so when you could actually work out, and it became, when I was standing the next guy, I'm like, I want to do more reps than him because it's for time or for reps or load, whatever. It was really cool. And so I like immediately gravitated towards it, and it opened up my eyes to so many different sides of fitness. And I think that's what's a cool part about CrossFit. CrossFit gets a bad rap. A lot of people, like to hate on it and shit on it, but there's some real, I think CrossFit has opened up a lot of eyes to Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman.
100%.
I think it's done more for fitness in the last 20 years than anything else.
Yeah.
When would the normal public get exposed to training,
training for real,
actual training, like all that
train, not I'm gonna go and do this,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's done more for, especially like what we all do,
right,
than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I have such a fond appreciation for it, and I was so lucky that I thought my athletic career was over.
Yeah,
without a doubt, it was dead. I was like, okay, cool, moving on. I'll figure something else out, and then it just
beginning.
Never mind. Let's go.
I just can't think about like when I hear that, like how timing is just so important, and it's like you hung it up, the sports are over. And then you find this thing that you get to compete at. Were you good immediately?
I was,
yeah.
but it wasn't like. But there, like I said, there wasn't a sport yet. I knew I was good because I was beating the guy next to me.
Got it.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good at this.
Yep.
And I wasn't the strongest guy ever, and I never was throughout my entire career. I was the guy who just was like willing to fucking hurt.
I was just
really
workhorse.
How much? So I wanted to. You already answered the question I was going to ask. Is what about your makeup was able to separate you? So you answered it. You embracing the suck.
Yeah.
I can't help but think your time wrestling growing up, is that what you attribute that
100%.
to? Yeah.
100%. I tell people that all the time. I think college wrestling was harder than Buds, which Buds is, the initial training. College wrestling was crazy. And I know I was at a different I had a different mindset when I was doing it.
Yeah.
But I still know how hard it was physically. Like we would watch, I remember, and I only wrestled NAI. I wasn't even like a D1 wrestler or D2 or D3. There was 3 more brackets above me. And so, but I remember doing a conditioning phase of our practice where we were doing stadium runs, and we watched 3 sports come and go on the field.
Oh my
doing practice
God.
while we were just doing stadium runs. And I was like, what the fuck? And they're like, all right, guys, let's go back to the wrestling room and start wrestling.
Well,
I was like,
plus, like, you're cutting weight at the same time.
Yeah.
If you have a hard practice, these kids fuel for it, ready to go. And if you got 10 pounds to drop or whatever,
Right.
like, you ain't fueling.
no, like, nope, I guess I get an orange and maybe a popsicle.
Yeah, seriously.
Orange and popsicle.
I thought, like, the best and worst part about wrestling is, like, when you win, you, like, kick that other dude's ass. And then there's no worse feeling than when you lost, because they raise his hand, you just got physically dominated for however long, and then you just walk off and people are like, hey man, good job.
Yeah.
No, he just whooped my ass.
Yeah.
Like, you saw
touch
it.
me,
Everyone
bro.
here saw it.
Everyone
Yeah.
saw it, dude.
Are you lying to me?
Yeah, now I'm really tired. It's that.
Yeah, when I would tell when I coach my kids wrestled at 5 and 3. Just,
Yeah.
and it was because they wanted to. I didn't like force them into it
Yeah.
or anything. You know, I would tell those kids every time, I'm like, every time you come to these practices, like, be proud of yourself, because this is the hardest sport there is to come in and do, because there's nowhere to hide. You don't have any teammates. You have teammates, but like you alone are the only person on that mat, like, that gets to, you know, decide whether you're going to win or lose. And I'm like, it takes a special person to come into this room every day knowing it's going to suck and it's going to hurt, and you're probably going to get your ass kicked because you're not the best guy in the room, because there's only one of them. It's like
There's only one best
there's only
guy
one
in the
best
room.
guy in the room, and you know when you're not him. So it's a hard thing to do, man, and be proud. And like, you know, it takes, and it builds so many good characteristics, discipline, dedication. You know, and just being able to get through really shitty times, you know, because it's going to happen no matter what, no matter how good you are.
Like, it's a sport, like, if you aren't in shape, you can't be good. Like,
Yeah.
you just
Yes.
can't. And so, like, if you don't get that piece down, it doesn't matter how talented you are, like, you will lose to somebody who's in better shape than you.
100%.
Like, and it's, I don't know, I feel like it's similar to the gym and everything that CrossFit's about. Like, if you're not in shape, doesn't matter if you're strong or...
You can't pretend to be good at wrestling.
Correct.
You know, like, you're like,
Or I feel like basketball,
people
like,
will
you just
know.
shoot the ball well, you're, like, skilled, you can kind of skate
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
But, like, wrestling, like...
It was brutal, yeah. I loved it, and I like my kids. They stopped doing it around COVID time, so like 2020, because it kind of went, you know, a little weird in California. And they decided to go to basketball, and it broke my heart. Like, I was like, I'm like, are you sure basketball?
Like, Dad, this is a lot more fun.
I'm 5'5", your mom's 5'5". I'm like, sure? All right.
Sure about that?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That'll last through middle school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll keep some other things on the back burner.
Yeah, let's make sure we stay with baseball at least.
Yes,
Then, all right,
yes.
we're gonna do basketball.
Yes.
So what's your take with, you know, wrestling what's your take on mental toughness? Like, we hear it all the time, like, this builds mental toughness, that builds mental toughness. Like, what's your whole scope on that?
I mean, I think, you know, CrossFit, wrestling, all of it's going to build, you know, mental resilience, right? But like, all of it's perishable. And no matter how long you do something for, you don't get to keep that shit. Like, it goes away. If you start feeling comfortable all the time and feeling nice and cozy and, you know, not putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, it doesn't matter like what you did growing up. There's going to come a time and place where you like to feel comfortable and you don't want to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. So, and that shit will go away, man. And you get weak mentally and you're like, nah, I'll think I'll
Tomorrow.
I'll go this way instead of that way.
Yeah.
You know, like, this looks a little easier, a little path of least resistance.
Yep.
You know, and so, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to build that stuff, but you have to constantly be working at it, right? And I think that's what, you know, training is a lot of times, right? It's just like, for people who aren't doing a sport, who aren't trying to actively pursue a goal with their fitness, like, now you're just putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions every single day. So when it does arise through life, right, you're able to handle it a little bit better, because you're like, yeah, this sucks, but I know I'm gonna fucking get through it. I'm fine. I did it yesterday morning, and the other day, and the day before that, and the day before that.
Yeah.
I got through it, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, to Zach's point, like, what I'll see is, you know, schools will have SEALs come out and for a day, and they'll, you know, do a bunch of push-ups and like pull-ups and various SEAL-oriented training exercises. But the staffing will brand it as like mental toughness training.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring it up is because I scoff at that. I feel like when I do, people take it the wrong way. Like, I think somehow people in the service aren't mentally tough. It could not be farther from. It's actually because I believe in how mentally tough you have to be, that I know for a fact that exposing 20-year-olds to 1 hour of a hard workout is not that brand of mentally tough. So my preface in saying all that is, can you talk about the differences between athletic mental tough and service mental tough?
Yeah, it's very different. In the aspect that it's one side has real consequences and one doesn't.
Yep.
In the sense of, one, you can, possibly not come home. The other one is like, you're going to go home and feel sorry for yourself because you had a bad day. You know what I mean? Like, and so there's those two different ways of looking at it, and not saying that, your life and your perspective is everything in your world. And right. And so when you put all this pressure, all this stress on yourself for your athleticism or whatever that is on that right side, it can be very overwhelming and very hard. Right. But if you start to realize how insignificant it is in this grand scheme of things, right? You can actually start to enjoy it again and have fun.
Yeah.
Where with the military, you get to have fun. You get to be by your bros.
Yeah.
And you get to do the thing and have a good time. And I'm like, nothing we did was unfun. We jumped out of planes, we shot guns, we blew shit up. We sledged down doors, we chainsawed doors.
He's recruiting us, don't
It's happening.
Like that stuff is awesome. And but then there's the reality, right? When you come home from a deployment and one of your best buddies isn't. And so it's just a different reality, I guess. And so it's it's different. And I'm not saying that,
because there's obviously some overlap.
Dude, yeah, and
right?
People put everything they have, and that people put their entire hearts and souls into sports. And so, like, I don't want to downplay it.
Right.
It's just not as like
the stakes aren't as fucking high, dude.
Stakes, exactly.
I think like, and this is someone as an outsider, like looking at it with just appreciation of like knowing, like, you just don't know. So I'm a learn by doing guy.
Yeah, same.
I have to put my hands on it. I have to feel it. I've never, for better or for worse, been able to watch someone else maybe make a mistake or make a good decision, and then me be like,
"Stove's hot or not?"
I'm gonna do that. I have to. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna touch the stuff. I have to touch it a few times.
Yeah.
But I look at it from the outsider's perspective, and I can say, okay, I know what it's like to be in the pressure cooker of like life and in sports, but then in the military, in an active service, I do not know. And so I wanted to bring up the idea of like the differences and similarities. And then ultimately, like, did those two things, did CrossFit and being a SEAL, like how much was it interlaced for you? And how much did one influence the other?
You know what? I think without CrossFit, I don't think I make it through SEAL training. Physically, I think putting myself in those uncomfortable positions constantly, day in and day out, knowing that every day I went into workout doing CrossFit, like I was going to hurt really, really bad. It was like, it didn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter when you get better, because all you do is you go faster, you do more reps.
Yeah, it's going to get harder the next time.
Harder, right? Yeah, like you maybe just get more accustomed to feeling the pain that you're feeling.
You raised your PR great, now your standards higher.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Congratulations.
Now it'll never be good enough. Yeah.
Okay, so I pissed my pants today. I crap my pants tomorrow when I deadlift. All right, let's go.
Doing some stuff.
Yeah, right. We're doing things. So yeah, I think that it was very interlaced, to be honest. I loved, the workouts. I loved how it hurt every day. I loved like pushing myself and seeing what I was capable of.
Yeah.
And the SEAL training was just that. And okay, now I use this to get to here.
Yeah.
All right. And so now it's like, all right, this is cool. Now I want to see if I'm able to do this, and still be tactically sound. Right. Now I still have to be able to think even when I'm feeling like shit. And I attribute a lot of it to how I trained and prepared getting in is, I got my legs as strong as possible. I think so many people, when they go into SEAL training, they think, oh, I got
pull-ups.
I got to run, swim, pull-ups, push-ups, and dips. And I should be good. And you'll get some old school frogmen, you know, who'll be like, yeah, that's how you do it. That's how we did it. And I'm like, I agree with you. I think you can get,
that is a way.
Obviously you did it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, how about if we make sure you're fucking gonna do it though? You know what I mean? Like, because you carry logs, you carry boats, you carry your buddies, right? You're carrying 100 pounds of gear. I'm like, so if I'm only training body weight movements now I have to fucking hope when I get asked to carry load, I can do it. I have to do it. Yeah, I got to hope that I can do it, right? There's no guarantee because I don't know. Yeah. And so, man, I that's why I offer my programming, and it's like, dude, yes, like you have to get your fucking leg stroke, because I would see dudes that would come in and they would crush my scores, and I had pretty good. The initial test is a PST test, and I had pretty good numbers.
What is that test?
So it's like it's a mile and a half run, a 500 meter swim, a mile and a half run, max push-ups and in 2 minutes, max sit-ups in 2 minutes, and max pull-ups in one set. Yeah, one set. Yeah.
It's like, we just got one set.
Okay.
One round? Yeah.
So, you know, like I had pretty good numbers, except for the swimming. I was comfortable with the water because I grew up in pools and stuff. Yeah. But I never was taught how to swim. Obviously, I don't have a swimmer's build. Yeah. I know shock.
Me too.
Which is strange. But, so I figured it out. You know, I swam a mile like twice a week. I just go to the YMCA and swim a mile in the pool and figured that out. So swimming, whatever. But I still got my number down. I got like my 500 meter side stroke down to like 640. You know, which is a pretty decent score with a side stroke. I don't know if you know what a side stroke even is. No. It's a very relaxed. Yes, very relaxed. Like. It's basically like survival swimming.
It's like a technique.
Yeah.
It's one of the only strokes I knew how to do, the breaststroke and then a side stroke. Yeah. I can tread water for a long time.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm a bad swimmer. Yeah.
How many people know what a side stroke is?
There we go.
I was one of them until 5 seconds ago, dude.
Yeah. You know, running was always, I could always run for distance. It was actually one of the only reasons I like played varsity soccer, because I had like the fastest 2 mile time back in high school when I was like a sophomore.
Like, we need this.
Wasn't impressive. It was like 11:59.
It was just better than everybody else.
It was better than everyone else. Yeah. And so I had a good, like my mile and a half time was like, what was it? It was like low 8s, I think. And then I had, like 170 push-ups, 150 sit-ups, and then probably like, 25 pull-ups or something. Jeez. But you would see dudes that would come in and crush those fucking numbers, man. And I'd be like, oh, they're gonna do it. Yeah. They'll be day 1, day 2 gone.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because man, it was either the mental, like they didn't realize how long it was going to be, how much yelling, the stress. Oh, I had to carry boats today. Now my fucking neck hurts, my back hurts, my legs hurt. Like I don't like it.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you ran or how many push-ups you did. That shit didn't matter. And so I think that, lifting weights is a huge aspect of going in and building that, building your leg strength, your bone, your bones, just like taking the poundage, and like your fucking neck and it just sucks. It's hard.
So you mentioned, the training that you do and the training that you offer, for that specifically. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So it's basically how I trained. Because I started getting, this was before I offered this program. It was just like, I got so many questions like, hey, how did you train? How did you prepare? Yeah. I was like, well, fuck, let me just offer it to you. Because if someone bottled that shit up, paged it up, and handed it to me for $30 a month, back when I've been like, that would have been easy. Yes. I'll pay for 4. But man, and so like I started writing it, and man, it's so cool how many people have hit me up and been like, dude, I crushed my selection. And it's not.
It's got to feel so good.
Yeah, it is. It's so awesome because it's like I did so much research figuring out what I needed to do. And it was like, okay, CrossFit made sense. And I ran and I swam and I was like, okay, and I learned land navigation and I was like, all right, these guys have to lunge with logs and they have to do all this shit. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna get myself ready.
Train for the test.
Train. Yeah, exactly. Like they're handing me the test. Why not fucking take a look at it?
Yeah.
And then figure out
it's work it back open book test.
Yeah, we'll work it backwards, man.
Some smart guys in this room.
Yeah, look at us.
Right. Yeah. Right. So after getting all those questions and like kind of giving guys some generic answers of how I prepared, it was like, well, here, let me just write this, and then I'll just keep offering it to you. And now I'm still, I'm still writing it like monthly, right? So it's like, cause I'm getting smarter as I, age, and okay, maybe that wasn't perfect how I did that. So let me adjust it here for these guys. And yeah, man, it feels really good every time I get that message being like, yeah, dude, thank you so much. Like I crushed my shit.
Coach 'em Up is proud to be sponsored by Plyomat. Plyomat is a jump mat that measures ground contact times, vertical jump height, and reactive strength index.
Plyomat's trusted by over 750 coaches in 25 different countries.
It's something that you can use in training day in and day out to give immediate feedback and drive output and intent.
Plyomat's always in stock. When you order your Plyomat, you can get it within 1 to 3 business days and start your training immediately.
If you get a group of athletes challenging each other to jump higher, get off the ground quicker, it transforms that workout into a highly competitive, highly potent stimulus.
If you would like access to the best jump mat on the planet, use Coach 'em Up 5 to get 5% off at checkout.
Again, code Coach 'em Up 5 for 5% off. Come jump with us. Get a Plyomat.
The Coach 'em Up podcast is sponsored by Squat Wedgies. Tim, what are squat wedgies?
Squat wedgies are an adjustable squat wedge, 7, 13, and 20 degrees.
It's big enough to elevate your whole foot and not just your heel.
Because it's rubber, it doesn't slide on surfaces.
It's 22 pounds, so it's durable and stable enough for even your biggest athletes.
There's a 90-day risk-free trial. The shipping is free, and
get 15% off squat wedgies with our discount code CoachEmUp15.
Coach 'em Up 15 for 15% off of the best squat wedge on the planet.
How's your training changed from when you were younger to like obviously getting older? What stuff did you think was like super important back then, and now you're like, dude, if I do that, I'm laid up for a couple of days?
Pistols.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think I need to do. I can lunge.
Yeah.
I can do split squats. Right. Pistols. That's a trick show, man. I ain't here for it anymore. I've definitely made some adjustments. I've kind of went back to a bodybuilding. I do a lot more bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And then I still do conditioning, CrossFit style. I do Olympic weightlifting, but I don't do like full cleans, full snatches. It's all power.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do that, like that dynamic movement for the knees. And my volume's just lower.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't have a goal anymore. My goal is to get my boys as fit as possible. And so for me, it's like, okay, I still want to be fit. I still want to look fit. I still want to be able to compete with those guys and beat them at things until I can.
They're gonna have to bury you.
Yes. I've told them that since they were little. I was like, listen, boys, I'm never gonna let you win at anything. And so the day you beat me at something, know that you did it.
You earned it.
Have you seen the thing? I saw it on Instagram the other day. This dad raced his son.
Daughter?
I think his son every birthday, and it was like kid finally turned like, I don't know, 14. He's like, this is the year I'm going to beat my dad. And his dad got like a USA track and field singlet and everything, and then roasted him. And another year.
Yes. I haven't seen that.
Kid was devastated.
Your kid's with you for like clean and snatch.
Oh my gosh, man.
Freaking dad. Hopefully he's hurt this year.
That's right.
That's why I'm like, you guys might be able to beat me at basketball now, which is embarrassing, but they can. I can't even keep up with my older one. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, this is terrible. But I'm like, trust me, you'll never take me in wrestling. Ever. Just so you know.
So as you getting older, like when did you realize like nutrition and recovery was important, and what kind of stuff do you do now as far as both of those?
Yeah, man, recovery was huge. Recovery was the reason I stayed in the CrossFit game as long as I did. Like I was so adamant about what I did for recovery, and it was from the initial, like, I had that knee injury in 2012, and I was like, okay, I gotta like take care of this. But it was acupuncture, cupping, massages once a week. I started doing Normatec, right? I was like, I brought Normatec into CrossFit, which is kind of like
cool.
The Normatec would never tell you that. Like the guy that I probably talked to would be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
We know who it is. We have the emails.
Yeah, I don't bullshit. There's no paper trail.
Yeah.
But I called that guy and I was like, dude, you need to get into CrossFit.
Yes.
Like it was a gold mine for you boys. And but yeah, like that. Diet was a little different because when you're doing CrossFit, man, you just need to consume calories.
You just got to get it in.
And I just didn't care. And I was young enough, and I got away with eating like a child that had money. Basically, I'm a kid who has money. I can eat whatever the fuck I want.
Exactly.
Like I'm burning probably 8,000 calories a day. Like,
donuts are fine.
Yeah, donuts, pop. I was eating. I'd eat probably like 2 packages of Pop-Tarts in the middle of the night, and like drink like 2
Whoa,
because I would wake up so hungry because I was like my training volume in 2016. I look back on that training log and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, you are an idiot.
More respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was so stupid, and I would wake up, I would train for like an hour and a half. I'd do strength, I'd do Olympic weightlifting, and then a Metcon of some sort. I'd go in, I'd have my lunch, I'd have a coffee, I'd take a nap, I'd come back, I'd do another 2 hours of training, which it was mainly CrossFit at that point. I'd go eat dinner, kind of relax for a minute, and I'd come back and I'd do like my monostructural at night, right, for another 2 hours. Probably an hour actually on the monostructural, right? So some sort of isolation of running, swimming, rowing, biking, whatever, one of those cycles, and then I would like go to sleep and wake up and do it all over again.
That is so crazy to me, dude.
And I would wake up. I remember one day I was like, man, why are my numbers so shitty? Why can't I hit the weight I want to hit? Why can't I'm looking back, I'm like, I haven't taken a rest day in 28 days.
Whoa.
Yes. I was like, okay, because I didn't make.
How old were you at that time?
So in 16, I was 23. Or no, I'm sorry, 33. Yeah.
Damn, we don't have an excuse.
Not at all.
Very
That's
shit.
how old I am now.
My early 30s, I felt like that was like my prime year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also, my 20s probably would have been better if I was smarter back then, doing things.
You're busy in the business world.
I was in telemarketing.
Running companies.
I was getting people call waiting and call forwarding and shit. But yeah, it was. So in 2015, I didn't qualify. Like, I failed. Like, I went to regionals and missed it by a point.
Oh.
And so 2016, I just remember being like, that will fucking never happen. And I just put the hammer down and I was like, nope, nothing. Like, in there, everything that was a distraction, everything that didn't get me towards going to the CrossFit Games and my goal of winning it, like, went away. That was it. Like, every distraction was removed.
Where'd you train at? And like, what was the setup for that? Like, did you have
My house in San Diego.
So you train by yourself
You're a
then?
sicko, dude. That is
I
awesome.
had two buddies, yeah.
Who were the poor buddies that were with you?
Dude, you should see, one was my buddy Dom. He was like overweight, but he was my kid's wrestling coach. That's how I met him. He was the head coach, and I just kind of came in and helped him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he's like, one day he's like, hey, can I come work out with you? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You can come work out.
Which session?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And he'd come over every day, man, and he would do the workouts like as I wrote them. It didn't matter how much longer it took, whatever. I mean, he would be there.
Wow, what a dog.
I know, right? I was like, this dude is awesome. And all of a sudden one day, like 8 months later, he takes his shirt off and I'm like, damn, dog, ripped, bro. Because he was like kind of a little overweight. Yeah. And I was like, dude, you're looking good.
Like Pop-Tarts in the middle of the night.
Dom was in the Bud Light era, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Pizza roll, Dom.
That's
turned
right.
into fucking, let's get jacked. It was awesome. So yeah, that was, that year was crazy. And like that, but then after that year is when I realized, okay, I was getting sick a lot. I wasn't recovering. And that's when I really had to focus on like, oh shit. I started doing hyperbaric chambers, checking that out for recovery. Man, if it was legal, I was trying it.
Right.
Anything that I could do to like get an advantage, get that 1%,
So you said something, it took me a long time, personally, whereas like, and again, maybe this goes back to our shared personality, but more is better, right?
Always.
Until it isn't. And I have to learn the same lessons over and over and over and over. Like I'm like, okay, if I just jump more, if I just sprint more, if I just squat more, I'll get faster. And then like it becomes this cycle. It's like I feel like shit, bad workouts, I get dinged up, whatever. So eventually I arrive at this place where I'm like, okay, rest is important, and it has to be a part of what I do. So how long did it take you to arrive at that place? And then how did you, because I can't imagine with that sort of style working as long as it did, how hard it must have been for you
Break the
to
mold.
start to, yeah, dude, can you talk about that?
That was really difficult to understand that rest was important, right? Recovery. Like I recovered, right? I went to my massages twice a week,
right?
After, my training. I did my acupuncture, and then I started, after 16 and 17 is when that was kind of like, okay, I got to take one rest day a week. Like, don't be an idiot, man. Like you saw what was happening.
Yeah.
You saw that your body just wasn't responding well, right? Like, I was doing everything, dude. I was getting like high dosages of vitamin C injections to try to like up my immune system. Like, it was crazy. So in 17, you know, and then it was. And then having that feeling when you don't train, being like, I'm losing it all.
Yeah.
How will I ever get back to where I was
yesterday?
The competition's training right now.
Yeah.
How will I ever get back? Will the weights forgive me for giving them a day away?
Right.
You know, it's like, it's so crazy. It does. Dude, after I stopped competing, it took me forever to realize, hey, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You're not even training.
It's going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Like so much like your identity, honestly, for doing it that long, that you are the like hardest worker in the room.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
How long, so for the people who don't know, how long were you in CrossFit, and then how long were you actively competing?
So I started doing CrossFit in 2005. I couldn't, the game started in 2007. My first time competing was 2011.
Okay.
And so I was using CrossFit obviously just as fitness, and I was like, I was keeping an eye on the games and like watching it and being a fan of the sport when it became around. But I couldn't compete until 2011, just didn't line up with anything.
Yep.
And so my first year competing was 2011. It was actually, I took second in the open, won my regional, and then went to the games and took second.
That is so crazy.
First year. So it was really cool. I was
This is
just,
fun.
Can you talk about what that, not to derail the original question, but can you talk about like what the rocket ship that must have been? Because did you think you were going to play second?
I thought I was going to win it.
You did?
Yeah, I did. And it was just my mindset at the
Got it.
time. You know, did I truly know if I was going to? No, I had no idea, right? But I knew that
That's what you were there to do.
I knew I could compete. Like my goal, I remember, if you know wrestling at all, you know who Cale Sanderson is,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, one of the greatest athletes of our generation that a lot of people don't even know who he is. And I remember like his goal, his final season was like to never even be taken down. And I heard that and I was like, that's fucking crazy.
goal.
Like what a goal, right? To like, I don't want to be taken down.
It's not even about winning.
Yeah, it's not about winning. I don't even want to I don't want to give anyone a thought that they could say, hey, I got taken down. So I remember going into that first season being like, I want to win every single event.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to lose anything. And man, like, so in the open, there were 6 workouts. I won 3 of them. And like, that's worldwide. So there was like 300,000 people competing and I won 3 of the events. And so I was like, okay, that's good. That's pretty good, you know? And I think I took second in one. I think I was 3 event wins, a second, and then like a 5th and something else. And I was like, all right, I can handle that. That's pretty good. Won the regional. I think I won 4 of the 6 events there. And then I went to the games, and winning events at the CrossFit Games is like a big deal. Like if you win event at the games, that's huge. And so I actually have the 3rd most event wins in games history on the men's side.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah.
That's a crazy ass stat.
Yeah. And I was after I heard it, I was like, that's really cool. I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, that's a pretty.
Who's number 1?
Frazier. Frazier has 1, and then Rich is right behind him. And and so I'm 3rd. And like those guys have like 27, 21, and I have like 8. You know, but it's like
still.
But they also
top 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're taking it,
Yeah,
baby.
exactly. I'll take it all day.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, like I just remember my mindset going into that first season being like, I don't want to win. I don't want to lose anything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a rocket ship. It was kind of wild. And being a SEAL at the time, still in active duty, I was like trying not to be like out there, right?
Yeah.
And it was there until I got out of the Navy. There isn't like a video, there isn't an Instagram, there isn't anything online that like me
That connected you
that
to
me
it.
saying I'm a Navy SEAL. Like I would say all I would say was I was in the military, and like some people knew,
Right.
You know, but it was like I wasn't putting it out there, and you know, I was trying to be as low key as possible. You know, and then you had to flip the switch and you're like, no, I have to promote myself.
Yeah.
And it was weird. It was wild, you know, and say, hey, yeah. And people appreciated that you were, you know, tell them, okay, this is on your resume. I'm not like giving out secrets.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm a Navy
exactly.
SEAL, right? So it was hard. It was a hard adjustment. And
How long did you serve?
8.5 years.
8.5 years.
Yeah. So it was awesome. I would have stayed in, if I didn't find CrossFit and I didn't have kids, I would have stayed in forever. Like it was so cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Coolest job ever.
That's awesome.
By a lot. So
It was better than telemarketing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really fun experience, and and then going to the CrossFit Games, it was a wild, weird roller coaster. And then I knew that I wasn't going to be able to go in 2012 because I was deploying.
That's
And so, yeah.
That's so fucking crazy to me.
So 2011 only worked out.
Nuts.
I'm in my workup, right? Which is like, you're pretty much gone, I would say 85% of the time during workup. And I look at the CrossFit schedule in 2011 and I had to go to my chief and be like, hey, it lines up. The CrossFit season lines up. Can I compete in this sport? And guy didn't even really know.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Right.
He's like, what?
Is this?
What is this? I'm like, I'll have to miss 2 days of training, of mobility training, and that is it. And everything else, I'll be like back to work.
I'm going to be working out at this thing.
Yeah. I'm going to go work out for a sport, and I could possibly win $250,000.
Yeah.
He's like, and the only thing he knew about CrossFit was the workout Fran.
Yeah.
And so Fran is like, if you're a lifter, like, hey, what's your bench?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, what's your Fran time?
Got it.
And he goes, what's your Fran time? And I was like, oh, 2:02. He goes, okay, you can go.
That's really funny, dude.
So yeah, I got really fortunate that it worked out, and I was able to go in 2011. Still knowing 2012 I was gonna be on my deployment, and so it was crazy.
Do you look back and you say like 2012 could have been like the big one?
Yeah,
think about that.
I do, and I was still training really hard. You know, obviously now I tasted it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that was awesome, and I know I could just get better. And then I got injured. That was when I dislocated my knee, and so it could have been great, but I mean, that is, anybody could say that.
Yeah.
Right. I could have been this. I could have been that. Right. But I still came back. So I dislocated my knee, tore every ligament in my left knee in 2012, ACL, PCL, MCL, meniscus. The LCL was the only one that stayed intact. In 2013, 13 months post-surgery, I took 7th at the CrossFit Games.
Jesus.
So, yeah, it was...
Bionic man.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a really cool feeling knowing, like, okay, I just remember I went to like 3 different PTs. I was like, nope, you're not the right one.
Yeah.
Nope, you're not the right one. And I found this athletic trainer, and he's the athletic trainer for the Padres now, Mark. He's
rad.
Awesome. Such a great dude. And Mark was like, let's do this. And he'd come in, and I wouldn't wear I wouldn't wear a knee brace because I didn't want to. Because I don't want to rely on a knee brace.
I'm not going to wear it in the
Fuck
game.
knee braces. Yeah.
Shows weakness.
He's like, that knee brace is pretty low profile. I'm like, yeah, it is, isn't it? I didn't have one on.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was a cool year.
So with your injuries and everything, how'd you come back in 13 months? Like, that's, to get 7th is nuts.
Dude, it was I look back on that and I have no idea. Like, I pushed the pace so hard. Like, I was like, we're gonna push so hard that we might do damage, or we're gonna do great things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one or the other.
Probably helped that you had such a great foundation.
Yeah.
It's not like you were starting from ground zero.
Right. Yeah. So I had that, and I the PCL, when you tear the PCL, it's different than the ACL, right? The ACL, they're super progressive.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, you're putting weight on it almost immediately.
Yeah, you walk right away.
Yeah. And so the PCL, they're a lot more reserved, and they have this thing called the Jax brace. I don't know if you ever heard of it. And it's like pushes your tib fib forward. To kind of keep it in place so it doesn't create a sag in your PCL. I had to wear that one a little bit, but I didn't wear it as much as I should have. So it was like, but man, like I was like, the moment he would release me to do anything, I was pushing it hard. And so, yeah, I got after it. And I get a lot of questions about, hey, I have my ACL, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, find a fucking really good PT.
Yeah.
Find a great athletic trainer that has the same goals and mindset that you do. Because if you don't, you're not going to get anywhere.
The problem, most of them are trained to clear you for like daily activities.
Right.
Yeah.
Like walk to the mailbox.
Yeah.
Go for a jog, not compete for the gold medal at the CrossFit Games.
Right.
That's nuts. What year was it when you could do CrossFit full time? Like, didn't have to work, could just focus on training?
So I got out in 2015, but it was post the season.
Okay.
So it was, I got out in September, and I'd already failed going to the CrossFit Games. And so I missed it at regionals. And so when it came time to re-enlist, it was like, okay, I can go back to the military, I can get out, or I could stay in and, now I have my security blanket. My goal as a kid, like we talked about earlier, was being a professional athlete. Like, here's your opportunity. I had a really good sponsors that were taking care of me financially, and then one sponsor was like, what are you making in the military? We'll cover it.
Wow.
So like, we'll basically like, we got you. So we got you. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, let's do it. Fuck it. Like, and if I can't do it now, if I can't do it while it's my full-time job and make
Can't do
it,
it.
then I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I gambled. Best decision I ever made. I also got so much more time with my kids because my kids were 5 and 3 at the time. If I go back in, right, it goes back to being gone 80-90% of the time.
Wow.
And so that was the biggest factor.
That's
Could be an all-star
huge.
dad at that point.
Yeah, it was like, okay, I get to like take my kids to school, drop them off, pick them up from school, and I could get my training in while they were at school, so, and I got to see so much more of their life because of it.
So this brings up something that we've talked about, particularly with other guests who are former athletes or current athletes. This concept of balance. So I'm of the opinion that if you want to be a game changer, or if your goal is to be the best at something, that balance is probably not for you.
No, not even close.
So, in the broad and general sense, like, can you talk a little bit about how much time had to go into CrossFit, how that impacted the rest of your life? 'Cause I'm sure it did. And then leaving CrossFit, how have things shifted for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. And like you said, if you want to be great at anything, like balance is the wrong word to be using, right? Unbalanced is a better word.
It is.
Very much better
Let's
word
get
to
unbalanced.
use.
And I want to say this too. Like, I'm not necessarily like trying to like in any way glorify it or anything like that. It just kind of is what it is,
100%.
But anyway, continue.
No, you're right. It is exactly. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You want to be great. You will have to fucking lose friends.
Yeah.
You will have to lose out different other opportunities that other people might deem important, like going to weddings, like going out and partying, like going out to drinking, right?
Yep.
Like that shit goes away if you want to be great.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to be average, you could probably miss some. You could probably be a little more balanced if you want, but yeah, like we talked about, I think it was before the podcast, but it was everything. When I started competing, everything else that was a distraction there was only one thing. I wanted to go win the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
And that was the only goal I cared about. And obviously I had kids, so I did be a dad.
Yeah.
But it was like those two things were the only things that mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything else I considered a distraction. So everything else was removed, right? You were my friend if you came and worked out with me. Right? Like I hung out with you if we were in the gym.
Yeah.
Like it was nothing else mattered. It didn't matter. It was that was it. And I didn't think I was missing out on anything.
Right.
Because the only place I wanted to be was getting myself better to become a CrossFit Games champion.
We had a clear-cut goal.
Yeah, that was it, man. And there was nothing else. Like I'm not missing out on drinking.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
If I was at a fucking bar, like with a buddy, I'd be like, why the fuck aren't we in the gym right now?
Right.
Why am I not doing pull-ups right now?
Yes.
This is not helping me.
Right.
So anything that took me away from that, I considered a distraction, and I removed it. And it was very unbalanced. You miss a lot of things that. And I wouldn't say I missed them. I just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say I was missing it, Bob. But little office space. Awesome. It was very unbalanced, and you're gonna get the haters, or not the haters, but the people telling you, hey man, you're a little crazy.
You're loud.
Right? Like, why are you going so hard, right? Like, you could take the night off, you could do this, and it's like, no. I can't.
Want this thing.
Because if I want this, that's why you're where you're at,
right,
doing whatever you're doing, and I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I want this, and I'm not gonna fucking let someone pull me away from it. And so it's crazy. And so many people come and go so quickly in the sport of CrossFit because they don't realize just how hard it is.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me of your SEAL experience.
Yeah.
With the people
exactly.
that start off hot, and then day 2, they're fucking bouncing.
Start slow and fade fast, right? But yeah, no, it's a wild ride, and I loved every second of it. I loved the nights where I was by myself, like with my dog. Like me and my dog, built a pretty damn special bond. Yeah. That dog was there with me, watching me go through some shit. And I was like, okay.
Would it get pretty dark for you? At times, just like, what was I can't, because I joke, like I'll joke and I'll say negative self-talk is where it's at. But I'm only half joking, because I'm a little, you know,
Dude.
if I need to get there, I can get myself, you know, to like a pretty sick, dark place.
A lot of holes in my garage gym walls. a lot of windows been
That's
broken.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
That neighborhood, I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah. I don't know what happened last night.
Yeah, honey, this guy came into our garage and punched a hole in our wall.
Yeah, he was pretty
Weird.
drunk. And he was covered in pizza rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, there was some dark days for sure. I mean, you just knew where you had to be at certain things, and when you weren't there and it wasn't clicking, man, it was just like I was a very negative self-talk person. And I had to make adjustments. And later in my career, like 16, 17, and 18 is when I had to start getting positive with myself, and it was crazy to see the impact it had.
So was there like a specific moment where you were like, "This, I can't fucking keep doing this"?
Yeah.
Or was it just the culmination of?
I think there was a time where me and two buddies were doing lifting, but I was like, hey, they're like, what do you want to start with? I was like, I want to start with conditioning because I don't feel like my body's going. My CNS is like not firing right.
Right.
And I always like to do some sort of warm up workout that turned into a gnarly workout normally. Before I lifted though, because I always lifted better afterwards. And they're like, no, let's lift first. Let's do some clean and jerks. And I was like, and I gave in, and they're over there like PR, and I'm like not even hitting like 75%. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I take my belt off and I throw it, and it goes right through my garage window. And I'm like, session's over, boys. And I was like, I think that was the moment where I was like, okay, maybe I need to
chill out a little bit.
Chill out and understand, like, okay, like I don't need to talk to myself. Like the things I'm saying to myself aren't healthy.
Yeah.
And now I have to tell my kids this, dude, because my little guy, man.
Yeah.
Dude, he goes so negative.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know where he gets it.
Yeah. right.
Something broke.
What the hell happened? What's his mom doing? And so I'm like, I've had to and the coolest thing I had to do is I had to show him this lift that I did at a regional workout where it was a snatch. And so we had the snatch ladder, and the last weight of the ladder was a PR for me. Whoa. And I sat there and I missed it 6 times, and I was like, I knew in my head, I'm like, you have to stay positive. And the moment you hit it, you can't think that the workout's over because I had to hit it twice. It was like a 10.
It was a PR and you had to hit it 2 times?
2 times, yeah. Yes.
Pay.
Right, baby.
Fucking go.
And so I was like, I trained that workout leading up to it because you had it like a couple weeks in advance. And I had every weight before it was easy. And I was like, I actually would have done really good in the workout if the workout would have stopped at that second last weight. Like I probably would have taken second in the workout. So I get to the final bar. I never even attempted it in practice because I didn't want to have like thinking I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even train. I just did pulls with it. And then I knew that the on the floor I'd have more energy.
Yeah,
and
everything.
And so I missed it 6 times.
The bold strategy cop.
Yeah, I know, right? I missed it 6 times, and then I fucking hit it. And I was like, it's not over. I was happy,
right?
But I was like, I can't have that like release. Yeah. Like that adrenaline dump, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I miss it 2 more times. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta stay positive. I'm staying.
You can do this, Josh.
God,
Stay positive.
You're so great, Josh. And so hit it again, man. And it was actually one of the workouts. It's one of the coolest, like most proud I was because of how I had to stay positive and not go negative. And I had to show my son that because we'll be downstairs doing power cleans and he's missing some weight.
Yeah.
And he's like, it crumbles him.
Yeah.
And our entire workout becomes shit.
Right.
And I'm like, bro,
yeah,
we're in our basement. No one is watching. No one cares.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm stronger than you, so what are you competing with?
Yeah. First of all, you're never going to beat me anyway.
Remember that.
Yeah.
But now, remember that this workout isn't like this weight. I'm like, you're not even trying to compete in weightlifting.
Right.
You're trying to be an athlete. I'm like, this isn't the goal.
Yeah.
This is just making you a better athlete.
Right.
I'm like, man, I'm like, what are the things you're saying to yourself in your head?
Yeah.
And he's like, he wouldn't say. He's like, I'm like, would you say those to your friend if he was missing a lift?
Right.
Would you say that to him, or would you say it to me if I was missing a lift?
Yeah.
He's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, are you having fun down here?
This is fun, right?
Yeah, I'm like, are you even enjoying this shit? Because you come down here, dude, we'll get done with baseball practice at 9:00 at night. We'll go home, we'll eat dinner, and he'll look at me and go, Dad, let's work out.
Wow.
Like, fuck. let's go.
go.
The
answer's yes.
You're damn right we're working
I want
out.
to come live with you guys. That's so
awesome.
It is. I know it is crazy, man, and I'm loving it. But then we'll go downstairs and he'd miss a fucking lift.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Worst day ever.
yeah, worst day ever. I'm like, dude, you should be so proud of yourself. There's an 11-year-old on the planet that's asking their dad at 10 o'clock at night after baseball practice to go lift weights.
Go power clean, Dad.
Yeah, right. I'm like, dude, like you got to think about what you're doing and like how special it is and the dedication and the skills and the determination and discipline, all the things that you're building through this right here. And this one lift doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. And like the more fun you're having down here, and I'm like, I'm not taking this serious.
Yeah.
You know, we're not radio pumping.
You're not going back upstairs until you catch this clean, Knox.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I'm like, dude, like my favorite memories, my best buddies, all my relationships were built in a gym.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you come down here and you get so quiet and you don't talk and we're not having fun? It's like we're just going through the motions. I'm like, enjoy this shit and you'll be better at it.
He'll set some PRs.
Yeah, dude, I guarantee that lift's going to go way up.
Yep.
You know, the moment you start enjoying it and start thinking like, okay, you missed it once. Okay, no big deal. I'll get it tomorrow or I'll get it the next day. Or maybe fuck it. Maybe I'll drop the weight right now and come back up and I'll get it again.
Yeah.
You know, like there's some different thought patterns we can have here that are going to help you out, man. So for me, it did. I get it. You know, I understand where he got it from, you know, but yeah it's like it took me a while to understand it too.
Yeah.
At some point, you just like are going in circles with the negativity, and then you keep missing, and then it consumes your whole day.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are working with college athletes. I mean, I'm sure the same thing, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, and NFL athletes and pro athletes, and you're like, I guarantee a lot of those guys are probably having the same. You know, is it like what's it like there?
You have a bad game, and especially the really competitive kids, like it will eat at them till the next game. And like to a point sometimes where like if you have a bad game, you come back to practice the next day and they have a bad practice, then it just turns into a spiral. Why am I even here?
Especially a game like basketball too,
it's
right?
Nuts, yeah. Because basketball you can be shooting really well or the opposite, like can't make anything. And you're in the gym doing all the things you're supposed to be doing, it's still not going in on game day.
Yeah.
And I think that's tough. And it's great when people are like, it's all right, man, you'll get through it. But like, you don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? You're like, no, it's not all right. It's not going in. Right. Like, what are we talking about? But
why are you lying to me?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you lying to me, dude? Thought we were tight.
I wanted to, so I've been, so ever since our interaction, our customer service exchange, I started following you. And you're still an animal, getting after it.
I appreciate
it. And the hashtag pay him. Tell us everything.
Yeah,
what does pay him? What does it mean?
Yeah, you know, so it started as pay the man, and some asshole used that term, and I guess like got it locked up before we
trademarked it.
All right, so we had to adjust it to pay him. And
which, for the record, I think it flows better.
Yeah, I like pay him. Yeah, pay the fucking man, pay him. You know, and so in the military, the pay the man became, it was like, hey, you're in trouble.
Oh, I see.
You fucked up. Like you did something bad, and you're gonna pay the man, right? So once I was starting to use it on my own for CrossFit, like as an athlete, I was like, okay. And I think I hashtagged it. Like I don't get to lift the weights until I pay the man. And like for paying the man, for me, it was like, I'm going to do my rowing intervals, which suck, right? They're not fun. No one cares about your row intervals.
Cool, bro.
Anywhere.
Not the PR interval,
you did your 5x500 row. Cool. Good story.
Yeah.
So, but my thing was like, I'm going to pay the man before I get to do the sexy stuff, which is, you know, your Olympic weightlifting, your powerlifting, whatever, you know, your heavy lifts, which everyone loves. Like who can lift the most? Everyone loves that.
Speaking of that, real quick, what are your best PRs all time?
Man, so like my 1 rep maxes aren't anything impressive. 440 back squat, which is 200 kilos, which I thought.
But at what weight though?
Yeah, 170.
Okay, here we go.
Kind of a slouch.
Yeah, what a fucking bum, Josh.
So first bum lift. What's your second bum lift?
Second one is I always wanted a 500-pound deadlift, and I'm still working on that. I'm at 485 on deadlift, and that was forever ago when I hit 45. Snatch was 265. Still never more than that.
Kilos, right?
At the comp?
Yeah, the comp.
That's when you got it?
Yeah, the only time I ever hit.
God, it's so epic, dude.
And then clean and jerk was 330, but I've cleaned 340 and I've jerked 340. I just never put it together.
Wow.
So overhead squat was like 330.
I could never.
I benched 225 for 20. Mark that shit down.
Let's go.
That was I worked at that for like 2 years.
Mark that shit
I was
down.
like, I wanted 20 at 225 bench for so long. That was a big number for me. Fastest mile was like 5:16. Trying to think. 20 rep max back squat was 350.
That's insanity.
Yeah, that was really
That's
cool.
disgusting.
I was stoked on that. Yeah. That was like I got done and I don't know how the hell I got the last 2 reps. It was literally like there was no
you fading out?
There was no muscles firing. It was like bone on bone somehow standing up.
But I did it.
But I got it.
Yeah, pay him.
Yeah. And so yeah, those are anything else I'm trying, any bigger markers that I'm trying.
Oh, sweet. I'm just glad we couldn't find time to lift today.
Same.
Yeah,
Seriously,
I know.
dude. I was gonna say I was bummed we didn't get a chance to work out
You'd
together,
like
but
lifting,
now I'm.
Tim and I lift like maybe once a month, and the one time a month, that's the only time we clean throughout the year.
Yeah, we clean
We just
together.
go for a
yes.
PR, and then I'll just see him in another 4 weeks.
I stay pretty light on cleans now. Like I don't
Yeah.
go above 225, and I just do reps.
Yeah.
I'll do like 5 on the minute, 4 on the minute, something like that. If I try to go heavy now, like my front rack because of my elbow just doesn't work, and if I have to start squatting,
So that I saw on a video you're super wide out here.
I have to
on
go
the bar
real wide
in order for you to get your hands
because
under.
this elbow, the bone spurring like that, like I just don't have flexion.
Yeah.
Right. And so like extension and flexion, and I don't go overhead very much anymore because of the elbow. The elbow will just like collapse.
So you're telling me your elbow hurts, but you can still train and find workarounds?
Weird. I know, right?
Wow.
I know.
That's tight.
Yeah.
So which brings us back to what I totally rabbit holed us off of. Pay him, please.
Yeah. So it just kind of started to resonate with so many people, and it was like, I don't own my fitness. I don't own any of these things that I'm doing. I don't own my athleticism. I don't own my health, right? I rent it. And if I don't go in and pay my rent every day, pay the man, which everyone's like, who's the man? I'm like, I'm the man.
Yeah,
Me,
You
motherfucker.
kidding me?
Me, motherfucker. Yeah.
Now that's a dumb question.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so I'm like, you are the man. Like you're yourself. You are the man. You're paying yourself. You're paying your rent so that you get to continue to have your health. You get to continue to have your fitness. You can continue to have, the skills that you want to be good at, whatever that is, right? You have to do it every day or it's going to go away. It's going to perish.
Yeah.
So that's where the pay him came from. And people just love it and people resonated with it. And so it was cool.
I want to ask him the social media.
Fine. Ask
Okay.
him. Then I get
You got the next
question
one.
I
Okay.
get my-
No, you go first. I'll ask him that last.
Mine is exactly what we're talking about right now.
Go.
So
teamwork.
I'm a big.
I like it. You guys are.
I'm joking. I'm a big coffee head, and I know you're a big coffee head as well.
Yes.
Tell us about the Good Dudes Coffee.
Oh, I love it, man.
So when Tim and I were first talking when we met today, and I texted Tim and I'm like, dude, Josh is just a good dude. And then I was looking more and I'm like, he's a coffee company named Good Dudes Coffee. Like, wow. Wow. So tell us a little about that and your setup and how you got into it.
Yeah, so I got into coffee like anything we talked about, right? You go into something, you go into it full. I'm gonna go fucking pro at making coffee. Why not? And so I get into like specialty coffees. I think I know what I'm talking about. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm in Iraq. I'm ordering, on those 6-month deployments, right? You're like, okay, I'm gonna get some coffee sent over. And I was looking at this specialty coffee place and I didn't even know what green meant. It had green next to the name of the coffee. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but that looks good. And it's one of the cheaper ones. So I'm going to get that. I get a box of coffee. It's like, green coffee is unroasted coffee.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with
See,
it?
I'm learning this now.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
So coffee
you've
beans
got like
are
a raw,
green, and then
a
you got
raw coffee bean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's raw.
Do you roast them out there?
So I'm like, what do I do with this? Oh, I guess I order a air roaster and sent out,
Obviously.
and that's how I literally got into it.
Don't buy new beans. Don't buy real beans. Just buy a roasted roast the ones you have.
And so I ordered a roaster. I was in Iraq and Fallujah, and I'm like roasting my coffee beans in my trailer. It was a good time. It was fun, man.
Wow.
And so that's really how it started. And because I didn't drink coffee until I was my second deployment. So in 2010 was when I started drinking coffee, or 2009, right before it. And I got into it hard. I was like, oh yeah, I got it. Oh, anything I do, I got to buy the best. Got to get the best, whatever. And so just really enjoyed roasting the process of it, and then started Good Dudes Coffee because I was like, a good dude in the teams was like, hey, you're a fucking good dude. Like, I want to go to war with this guy. You know, you don't want to be a nice guy. You want to be a good dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So it's like, I really like that saying. And so I was like, yeah, let's start the brand. Good dudes and Good Dudes Coffee. And so that's where that whole came from. And yeah, man, it's really cool. You know, I have a guy up in New York. He's kind of doing everything. He sources it, roasts it, packages it. So I haven't leaned into it as much as I'd like to. Kind of did for a bit, and the programming kind of took off. And so leaning more into the programming, but I love the coffee biz. And
what's your go-to at home? What do you make pretty much every morning? And then what do you make when you got time on your hands?
so I do a pour over every morning.
Okay.
You know, I use
Solid.
yeah, I have time every morning. I don't have, like, my job is all at home. The only time I have a schedule is with the boys, you know, so it's like their school, their sports, like that's my schedule. I work around that kind of thing. So yeah, I do a pour over, and then I do an espresso. I have a La Marzocco Lina Mini espresso
Same
machine.
one.
Yeah.
Black one.
Yes.
Yeah. Got our little NCAA tournament bonus. It's like, I'm buy a coffee machine.
Yeah, that's right, baby.
My friends were like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you want a latte or not?
Yeah.
Don't worry. Yeah, don't worry
You
about
want this
that.
coffee or not? Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, right.
It definitely, you know, its return on investment is at least 13 years.
Yeah, if I get a coffee at a coffee shop every day for 13 years,
It covers the
yeah.
But yeah, so I do an espresso. So morning, first thing, wake up, I do my ice bath, and I make my coffee, my pour over, have breakfast, and then I make my espresso, and then I'm done with coffee. Because sleep, we talked about recovery, and I kind of forgot how important I realized sleep was. And I went down a rabbit hole of sleep, right? Like, how do I optimize my sleep? You know, and you start hearing that basically caffeine is in your system for like 12 hours.
Yeah, half-life.
Right? Yeah,
hours,
it's crazy. And so I stopped having caffeine or coffee, guys. I don't drink any other caffeine at like 10 a.m.
Yep.
10 a.m. is my last like caffeine. And I've never done pre-workout. It's always just been black coffee.
Coffee's the best pre-workout.
By
It's
far.
my favorite.
Yeah.
By far.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is.
Though, you know what I find I can't do? Like I was hard on the pre-workout for a long period of
Most
time.
guys, yeah.
And then I started noticing, like, because, you know, I can get pretty to a pretty dark place on my leg days. And I wouldn't be able to, my performance was actually suffering.
Be too ramped up.
Yes, because on my own, Zach, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need a lot of help being enthusiastic or excited. And my heart rate, I'd get to a place where, like, I'm going to fucking black out, dude.
Yeah.
And so the caffeine before leg workouts for me are just, they're no-go
Dude,
at this point.
I appreciate, I want to put this out there, right? For anybody who doesn't know, who's never worked with Tim, I got to watch Tim coach my sons the last 2 days, and it was such a cool experience, man. And I appreciate it so much because you don't see a lot of trainers who have the enthusiasm day in and day out, especially because you're doing the same shit.
Yes.
Right? You know, and it's like,
It's true.
but the impact that you can have on someone on any certain day is so huge, and it's like, it was so cool to watch.
Thank you, man.
You know, because
I
I'm not,
appreciate that for real.
I've worked out in my home pretty much, you know, for 12 years, you know, but I'll go to my kids' baseball and I'll watch their circuit training, and these coaches that go in there, it's like,
Man, 10 of these.
yeah, what the
good
fuck,
job.
man? Like, you chose your job.
I think Tim has more fun than the athlete.
Dude, right? No, it was cool.
And I've
as
seen
shit.
him, like, I've been here when it's like the pro guys, which you can get up for that, obviously, but he'll have like a one-on-one client of like some dad, and he's still like coaching him like he's Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is tight. I'm going to watch
It
this.
is. I know, man.
Nice.
It's so awesome
Yeah.
to watch, and like, it just was refreshing to see, man. So I really, really appreciate
Thank you,
that.
man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But where you went with the squatting, I understand.
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely see how fired up you can get.
Yeah.
you know?
He's high on Tim.
Yeah. It can be a little too much. Not everybody's cup of coffee. So you mentioned kind of like, you know, we have coffee business, and then things have sort of naturally transitioned to you with online training business. Can you talk about what it's looked like for you as time's gone on, growing social media, growing your online training business, and what that takes, and the day in and day out grind of that, because it is one.
It is, man.
And just speak to all the nuts and bolts of how that works for you.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. You know, you go from a profession where you're trying to be as under, low key, not talk about. Even though, you know, like a lot of Navy SEALs are not that low key.
The opposite. Yeah.
Opposite. Mm-hmm. You know, I took pride in that when I was in being, you know, a, you know, silent professional, kind of keeping that to myself. And I wanted to keep that close to me and my, you know, for me and my family. And then, you know, as I became a professional athlete, it was like, no, you have to, and especially in an individual sport like CrossFit, where like really where you make your money is through your
it's your brand.
You are the brand.
Yeah, man.
Like it's me. Yeah, you are your brand.
Yep.
And I got very fortunate that a lot of people resonated towards me. Obviously, it had a lot to do with my military career.
Sure.
I think, you know, being one of the smaller guys out there, people were like, whoa, what's this little fucking kid? Well, who's let the little kid out? You know,
This dude's dominating.
Why is that kid? Do you get lost? Where's his mom?
Kid's strong as shit. Yeah.
Kid's got a mustache.
And so, you know, I had a really huge fan base that I you know, I appreciated. And it was really cool. And so you know, you started slow. You started putting shit out there on, you know, his Instagram grew. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just post a workout. And at first, you know, you don't know how's it going to go. Right. And then you post a workout and people start to like, oh yeah, that was awesome, man. Thank you. And then, you know, okay. And you start to think about it and you're like, okay, well, should I give this shit away or should I try to sell it? And it's like, then what I noticed was like the more I gave away, the more people were willing to come and like pay for your stuff, right? Because now they understand what you're offering, even though I'm not giving them, you know, everything, but I'm giving them a free workout every day. Here's a free workout, man.
Yep.
And like, it's just me showing that, hey, I still do this shit too.
Yes.
I'm not making you do this. This is what I do. And I'm
paying him too, motherfucker.
That's right. I don't want to get foreclosed on, you know what I mean? Shit. And so, yeah, people, and you know, right now that's what's working. And I don't know how long it's going to work for, you know, but it's, you know, you're trying to constantly adapt and overcome in situations where, okay, all right, well, we're having a lull this month. Okay, what can I do differently? All right, what I'm giving, okay, how about some recovery items? You know, what I use for like my back pain or what I use for my knee pain or what I use for, if I tweak something or, I actually throw in some rotational stuff because I do play golf, right? And my kids need rotational stuff because they're still playing, you know, actual sports. And so everyone should do that stuff. Okay, so I'll throw that out there. And then what I have really found is when I feel nervous about putting something out there, that's when it tends to do the best.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to do it.
I'm like, I don't think I should.
Can't look at my phone.
Right. You post it and you like never look at it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah.
And always the stuff you work the hardest on, you're like, dude, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to even do a script for this.
You
throw it out there and you're like, bro, my mom liked
Nothing.
it.
So there's a term for this. Now, it's not widely accepted. Maybe it will be after this podcast because, you know, it's such a huge podcast. Yeah. But it's low IQ posts versus high IQ. And I credit Jake, Austin Yoakum and Jake Tura for introducing me to this concept. But the low IQ posts or the stuff or the throwaways, the stuff that you have anxiety about where you're like, I don't know if this message is going to land. Invariably, the things that I feel like I probably could have done better on this, but I'm just going to post it. Hopefully people like it. Viral.
Yeah.
The thing that I was like, I don't know if
I think we're onto something.
my anxiety is telling me that like this is like new and dangerous and viral. And then the thing I'm most proud of, the thing that I've been working the hardest on, it's like my lowest performing content. So for anyone looking to do the opposite of what you think's going to work.
It's like George the Seinfeld, do the opposite of
literally
it is
the opposite.
Exactly, man. No, it's true. And also like so I have a YouTube lady, videographer who comes over once a week and we shoot a video or you know, we'll shoot a couple of videos or whatever. And she sends me clips. And when I post those clips, they don't do that well.
The highly produced stuff, dude, stuff you pay money for.
When I put my phone up, literally just prop it up next to my cup.
On a damn kettlebell.
On a kettlebell. Like that's the shit that does the best. And I'm like, and I feel bad. I tell her all the time. I was like, Whitney, like you shoot amazing shit. Like you make me look so much cooler than I am. But I'm sorry that when I post it on Instagram, it doesn't do that well. I apologize.
That's been my experience. I think a lot of people in our spaces.
Probably just looks like an ad.
Well, I think there's something more real, more first person more engaging about it, looking at it through the same lens that you would look at it through.
Right.
I think that I think when it looks overproduced or when the quality is that high, it almost feels, and I'm speculating here, but I think that there's a sense that there is separation. Like I'm not in the garage with you.
With the jockey camera.
Right, dude.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's something like that's just a little bit more approachable isn't the word I'm looking for.
Real.
But yeah.
I think real. Yeah, I think real
Yeah.
is the word. Like where if it's overproduced, you don't know if it is like I hate. I've worked with a lot of companies and they'll come in and like, let's do we're going to shoot this video and this is what I want to see.
Right.
I remember this one fucking guy and he's like telling me, he goes, hey, lift that tire up and then make a face. And I go, hey bro, I'm going to do 10 tire flips. You could catch the face.
Yeah.
How about that? You know what I mean? I'm like,
Right.
that's not real. I don't want to do it.
Yes.
And,
you're not going to be inauthentic.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no, man, like let's not do that. And so, and I think when it's overproduced and like people can think that might be what it is. Oh, maybe that person really isn't lifting that tire. Maybe 3 dudes lifted the tire up and then he held it there.
Yeah, and made a face.
Yeah. Made a face.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks like he's making a face. Like I feel like someone on the production team told him.
Make a face.
All right, guys. Unfortunately, we're coming up on time here, but we do have some segments. We've got some sweet segments. So I'm gonna do the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been over this.
We've had some segment struggles. Okay, so this first segment is brought to you by Squat Wedgies. Squat Wedgies is an adjustable squat wedge. It's 3-in-1. It's heavy. It doesn't slide. Your sons were using it earlier today. Absolutely crushing front squats, by the way. Holy shit. It was so impressive. This segment is called 3 Things. So if you could give 3 things to anybody out there who wants to have the success that you've had in the fitness industry, what would those 3 things be?
Discipline, obviously, is number one. Just having the discipline to, even when you're not seeing the results off the bat, knowing that the long-term play is going to show up, right? Like you have to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, no matter how bad. And that's, I think, the hardest part is people just aren't disciplined, right? They'll get deep far enough and then they'll just give up right before something good could have happened. Mm-hmm. I would tell them to find something that they truly love. Like if you're trying just to sell something to make money, right? I don't think that it can work. And I'm sure a lot of people out there don't love the shit they sell, but they do really well. Mm-hmm. For me, man, I like everything that I found that has given me success in my life has been like almost by chance and by accident. And then I just fell in love with what I was doing and it was like, oh shit, now I can make money doing this.
Yeah.
So if you really truly find like passion for something, I think that is a great way to get started into the business world.
I love that. We have discipline, passion. Those are 2 big heavy hitters.
Yeah. And just no quit, man.
Yeah.
Right? Like not quitting. And it's so easy to give up and like give in when shit doesn't go your way, when, you feel like almost a victim, like, oh, like why can't I get, everyone else is doing great and then you just give up, right? It's like, fuck that, man. Like, no, don't be a victim. Work for whatever you want and put everything and remove every distraction that you can. And then, good things will happen.
I love that. Awesome.
Take that to the bank.
I don't know if that was actually 3 things or not, but sure.
4 or 5.
Yeah.
And drink good coffee.
Yeah.
Good
Good dude's coffee.
Yeah,
That'll get you there.
Pay him and drink coffee, dude.
Yeah, it's brought to you by Good. So our next one's Rant and Rave. It's brought to you by Plyomat, best plyomat in the world.
Nailed it.
That was really good.
So, as you can imagine, I struggle with these. So I just can't read off a screen. It's hard.
It's the reading
Yeah,
part,
it's the
really.
reading.
Yeah.
Top, bottom, left,
I
to
got
right.
pretty far without knowing how to read.
I can count to 20. It's what I do.
Yeah. Fun fact, I don't know how to read. So rant and rave. Pick anything you'd want to rant about, and then something you really like that's going on in the world today. Or training.
So I'm raving
Whatever.
right now?
Yeah.
Go rant first, and then
rant
and then
first.
rave.
Yeah.
Get a little negative, like you were before.
I mean, I think the victim mentality that is like a badge of honor right now is something that I really hate. I talk to my kids about it all the time. Like, you're not a fucking victim until you choose to be a victim, right? Like, that is a choice. Like, yeah, bad things are going to happen, but it's only bad because you perceived it to be bad, right? Like, anything that happens to you, you can take and you can make adjustments, you can fix, you can take the good or the bad, right? Like, say you have a shitty boss, right? It's like, okay, well, what can I take out of this? What positives can I take out of having this shitty boss? I know how not to be a boss, right? 100%. I know not what I want to do when I'm a leader of some sort, right? So I just think the victim mentality is overplayed, and it's weird that people are like trying to think like they want to be victims right now. Yeah, that's wild. You know, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, what the fuck would you ever want to be a victim for, right? And yeah, it's like almost everyone wants to be one right now.
It's a cool thing.
No, I'm not a victim.
I'm all set.
I'm all good.
I'm paying him.
Yeah,
good.
I'm out here. Yeah,
I'm getting at Jim.
I'm cutting the check today.
Yeah. And raving, man, like, I'm stoked that this trip happened, dude.
Nice. This is the best rave yet, dude.
I hit up Tim, and Tim's like, yeah, you should come on the podcast. And I'm like, let's fucking negotiate some deal here. I'm like, how about this? How about, I love training my boys. I love it. It is my favorite part of my day now when I get to work out with those kids. Yeah. But I know that I'm their dad, and I'm like, the same shit you're telling them down there, I'm like, this is what you need to be doing. But it's like, yeah, sure shit, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Whatever, pal. Yeah. Beat it, nerd. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, how can I?
I was only like one of the fittest people to ever live, but you're right. Yeah.
So I get to hang out with my kids, and I get to do a cool podcast with Tim, and basically like do a dude's trip with him. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, let's fucking do this. So this was such a cool trip, and I'm so appreciative that you were like, yeah, come on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'll come on the podcast if you train my kids. And
done.
Yeah, and he was like, done. I'm like, let's go.
Well, he texted me, he's like, I got Josh Bridges on the podcast. I was like, shut up, dude. Like, what we talk about. He's like, no, dude, I'm serious. He's coming to Austin and we're training his kids. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, let's fucking go. I texted him, I said, yeah, he just said it's going to be a dude's trip. And he was like, hell yeah. End of convo.
I know. I was like, sorry, babe, you can't come.
Yeah, it's
dudes only.
Tim made the rules.
I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was off-putting too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dude, we have one. Thank you for saying that. It's been such a wonderful experience hanging out with you and the boys. It's been great.
It's been such a cool trip, man.
Last segment here. So unsolicited advice. And here's an example. You and your boys, you guys go to Terry Black's and you sit down, you're going to have some barbecue, and there's someone sitting at the table next to you, and you just lean over and you gently whisper into their ear some unsolicited advice. It can be anything. As odd as it may seem, what would it be?
Don't eat oysters in the warm months, right?
That is a really good piece of advice. I thought you were going to say pay him.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say pay him. But honestly, that is way more practical, I think. Is this from experience?
I love oysters, man. And but I've heard you're not supposed to be in the summer months. I'm like bummed right now.
I feel like that'd be the best time to eat them.
Now it's cold months. I'm supposed to eat oysters in the cold months.
But I feel like I don't want to be out. To me, when I think oysters, I'm on a patio somewhere eating oysters.
Yeah,
right. It makes
it's always warm here.
Yeah,
right. So you kind of forget, And then when I moved to Denver, I was like, that's actually kind of when I got into oysters. I was like, oh man, they're just so fucking good.
Yeah,
I love these. And then my wife's telling me like, yeah, you're not supposed to eat them.
Don't do that
in the summer months. I guess months that end in Y are the months you can eat them or something like that.
Lame.
I just want to throw you guys for a loop. I didn't want to come in. But,
no, I like that.
Pay him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Work hard, man. All your dreams will come true if you work.
Dude, hey, so where can people find you? Where can people train with you? Give us all your info.
Yeah, so my programs are all on josh-bridges.com, just a website. It comes on an app though, which is nice. And
what's the app?
It's Fitter. It's Fitter's app.
Very cool.
And so it's like white labeled. So it has
dope.
You go through Fitter, but then it becomes the Josh Bridges app. And so it's really cool. And then obviously Instagram, BridgesJ3. I'm on the other ones too, but not really. Like Instagram is kind of the one that I'm on the most, and so but then you got like Threads and Twitter and all, or X or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And then, gooddudescoffee.com. If you want to try the coffee, that's cool. It's all online. It's actually the only place you can get it. Just direct to consumer.
Nice.
Brought straight to your door.
Nice.
By some good dude.
Probably by another good dude.
Yeah. Solid.
And then YouTube, just my name, Josh Bridges, YouTube channel. So.
Very cool.
Yes.
Josh, this was awesome.
Thanks for coming.
We got to have you back
great.
out at some point in
Dude,
time.
I'm in. I love Austin.
Yeah.
Great.
Hopefully when my boys become Longhorn.
Yeah, we're trying to put the hard sell on.
Nice. Get a couple Longhorn converts.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a good
Exactly.
football season. Just, put the game on.
I know, right?
Guys, everyone at home, everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Pay him.